Quick disclaimer at the very beginning of the video, I'm not saying that he will make the NHL. I'm not saying that I want him to make the NHL, but I'm saying that if he did make the NHL, I really wouldn't be surprised. And this video explains why. I also want to guarantee you that I am not going to make these videos on everybody. In fact, it's mostly only Hoglander that I'm going to make this kind of video for, because I believe Hoglander is such an interesting case in this context that it definitely needs to be discussed. I could have made this kind of video about Podkolzin, but it would have been kind of unnecessary considering the fact that he literally cannot play in the NHL next season. So I'm starting things off here with Nils Hoglander and asking whether or not he's actually NHL ready. How good is Nils Hoglander? Because Hoglander is somebody who was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks at 40th overall and is somebody who a lot of people labeled as a steal, especially in that spot. Taking a look at some of these pre-draft articles about Hoglander, let's go over to the hockeywriters.com and check out this little tidbit right here. Hoglander is projected to be a mid to late first-round pick at the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. If it weren't for his size, he'd likely be a higher option. Expect him to go in the mid-20s, where in a couple of years, we could be talking about Hoglander as the steal of this draft. That is in the context of him going in the 20s. Hoglander went 40. So people are now getting an idea of just how far Hoglander has slipped. I know I was extraordinarily surprised to see Hoglander there, and I was so happy to see that we took him. And Hoglander is a guy who is only 5'9", and if he was taller, he would have been drafted earlier. But the fact of the matter is, Hoglander has such an interesting case for being defined as an NHL-ready player that it's not as ridiculous as it seems to consider it. Here, let me defend my points a little bit, because, once again, I don't think Hoglander will make the NHL, but if he does, I won't be surprised. Hoglander played his draft year in the SHL this season. 50 games played, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points. He had a higher points per game in his draft year in the SHL than some of these incredibly talented NHL players. Let's take a look at my buddy S7 Design. He has a great graphic on SHL draft year even strength points per games played. Hoglander had a higher points per game than Vesalainen, William Nylander, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Jakob Vrana. This is a pretty good list of company. But obviously it's not gonna say directly, hey, he's gonna be in the NHL next year. So let's go over what exactly it is I believe is the case here. The biggest point that I wanted to bring up is the fact that Nils Hoglander is an absolute workhorse. He's totally got his head in the game 110% of the time. It's one of the biggest notes about Hoglander that people have been talking about before the draft and throughout the past year. The fact that Hoglander works extraordinarily hard, and what we also learned, Vancouver Canucks Nation, the fact that Hoglander is extremely physically fit. Right after he got drafted, they showcased a video of him doing his workout routine, and that is an absolutely crazy, weird video. He's doing some, leaning with a big ball, and he's pulling his knees inside his inner core, and he's going down and up. It's really weird. And Hoglander talks very frequently about how he's a fitness geek, and he totally cares so much about his fitness. And because of this, a lot of people have been labeling Hoglander as one of the most physically fit players in the entire draft, especially for a guy who's only 5'9". And this fact shows in how he was able to play pretty much the entire SHL season. You don't play 50 SHL games as an 18-year-old without having some form of redeemable qualities on the ice. I don't think people are understanding just how good 50 games played in itself is in a pro league as an 18-year-old. He only had 14 points, sure, but he's not going to get that many points as a youngin'. That's why the graphic that was shown earlier showcases him as among the guys like Nylander, like Elias Anderson, etc. Just the pure fact alone that the Rogla BK relied on him to play 50 games is incredible, and that should not be discredited one bit. Now, I'm not saying that that's enough to get him into the NHL. Oh, he played 50 SHL games, that means he can play a few NHL games too. But what I am saying is that if you take all the comparables, you take his skill, his drive, his puck skills, which some people, Corey Pronman included, have labeled as the best hands of the draft, if you take all of these comparables and you put him into one small player, you get yourself a package of a guy who's got a higher chance of making the NHL sooner among every other Vancouver Canucks prospect. And this is why I'm making this video. It's not common to see second-round picks make the NHL. Ryan O'Reilly did it in 2009, but it's been literally 10 years since then. We have guys like Daniel Sprong getting drafted in the second round and playing 18 NHL games in his draft plus 1 year. We have guys like Quinn Hughes making the NHL right out of his draft year, albeit a year removed roughly from the draft day itself. So Nils Hoglander, as a Vancouver Canucks prospect who was supposed to go higher, in my opinion, has one of the earliest chances of making the team because of his incredible work ethic, his incredible skill, his incredible fitness level and athleticism, and his drive. There's a reason I was so excited for Hoglander when we got him. And those reasons may be showcasing themselves in the Vancouver Canucks sweater earlier than most people would think. If he doesn't make the NHL in 2019-20, which I believe is the more likely case, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. In fact, I would expect him to make the NHL in 2020-2021. Because Hoglander is just such a good prospect, and I have all the faith in the world that he is that good. Hope you enjoyed this video. 99, and bye.